From Neural Newscast, this is Nerfed, where games, culture, and strategy intersect.
Nerfed, D&D's mature move and EA's CEO payday drama. I'm Vanessa Calderon.
And I'm Marcus Shaw. We've got a packed show today, ranging from tabletop crossovers to some seriously questionable corporate math.
Questionable is one way to put it, Marcus. I was thinking tone deaf, but we'll get to EA in a minute. First, let's talk about Dungeons & Dragons getting, well, spicy. It seems Wizards of the Coast is ready to shed its family-friendly image for a segment of their audience, and the reveal at Gen Con this year has the community buzzing about just how far they are willing to push the envelope.
Yeah, Gen Con 2026 just kicked off, and Wizards of the Coast is not playing it safe. They are clearly looking to capture that older demographic that has gravitated toward more visceral experiences, like Baldur's Gate 3. The energy at the convention is electric, but there is definitely a sense of shock regarding the specific roadmap they just unveiled for the next few years of tabletop play.
No kidding. IGN reports that the 2027 D&D roadmap includes a mature-rated expansion for the Dark Sun setting. We're talking shrink-wrapped books with warnings for violence, nudity, and bloodshed. The teaser apparently showed a spine being ripped out through someone's eyes. This is a massive departure for a brand that has spent the last decade trying to become as mainstream and accessible as possible. Athos has always been a brutal setting, but Wizards is leaning into the horror in a way we haven't seen in decades. Happy Friday, everyone!
It's a bold move for the brand, Vanessa. They're also leaning hard into crossovers with their first Universes Beyond release, D&D World of Warcraft. It's coming in November and includes every playable WoW species and class, plus iconic dungeons like Icecrown Citadel. As someone who spent way too much time in Azeroth, seeing a 50-plus monster bestiary for tabletop is huge. Imagine trying to balance a party that includes a Death Knight and a Pandarian monk while fighting the Lich King in a turn-based tabletop setting. The mechanics for the raid modules they mentioned look incredibly complex, and I suspect DMs are going to have their hands full with the sheer volume of stats.
It's definitely the season of champions. But while Wizards is printing money with orcs and elves, EA is out here making headlines for their own unique brand of math, specifically the $38 million kind. It's the kind of figure that makes you do a double take, especially when you consider the broader context of the industry's recent struggles. While players are celebrating new content, the people behind the scenes at Electronic Arts are seeing a very different kind of reward structure. Right. According to recent SEC filings, EA CEO Andrew Wilson took home over $38 million for the 2026 fiscal year. That's an $8 million raise, largely credited to the record-breaking success of Battlefield 6, which sold 7 million copies in 3 days last year. The game was a technical marvel and clearly hit the mark with the core audience, but the financial disparity between the executive suite and the development floor is becoming impossible to ignore in these filings. And the punchline? This comes just 4 months after EA laid off an undetermined number of developers from those very same Battlefield teams to align with community needs. I guess the community really needed the CEO to have a bigger yacht. It is a recurring theme in the industry lately, where record-breaking sales and massive executive bonuses are followed almost immediately by restructuring and job cuts. It makes the community needs justification feel incredibly hollow to the people who actually built the game.
It's a rough look, especially when the filing says the game helped manage the company's resilience in an unpredictable external environment. Apparently, that resilience doesn't extend to the people actually coding the destruction physics. The language used in these corporate reports often tries to frame success as a result of executive strategy while downplaying the reality of the labor force that delivers the product. When you see a $38 million payout next to a line about cost optimization through layoffs, the narrative of resilience starts to crumble.
Speaking of corporate moves that everyone hates, Sony is still getting hammered over their plan to ditch physical discs by 2028. Gaming Bolt noted that the backlash hasn't slowed down, even as Sony tries to ignore it with their strictest media guidelines yet. They're essentially trying to legislate their way into a digital-only ecosystem by making it harder and harder for third-party retailers to support physical media. And the fan response has been predictably vitriolic. People want to own their games, Marcus, not just license them until a server goes dark.
It's the classic digital-only argument. Sony has the data showing physical sales are declining, down to $1.6 billion this year from nearly $12 billion in 2009. But fans are pointing to the recent PSN outages as exactly why we still need discs. If the servers go down, your digital library is just a very expensive paperweight. Beyond that, there is the issue of preservation. We've seen digital storefronts disappear before, and without physical copies, decades of gaming history could simply vanish at the whim of a corporate board meeting. Sony's betting on convenience, but they might be underestimating the value of tangible ownership.
Exactly. But let's move away from the boardroom and into the fog. Bloody Disgusting just got hands-on with Silent Hill Townfall, and Marcus, it sounds actually good? For a franchise that has had a very rocky road over the last decade, this new experimental direction from No Code and Annapurna Interactive seems to be exactly what the doctor ordered for fans of psychological tension. It isn't trying to be a direct remake of the classics, it's trying to find a new way to make us uncomfortable.
It sounds fantastic, Vanessa. It's a first-person psychological horror set in a Scottish town called St. Amelia. The big hook is the CRTV device. It's this tactile tool you use to tune into frequencies to see monsters through walls or solve puzzles. It's being directed by John McKellen, who worked on Alien Isolation, so you know the atmosphere is going to be suffocating. The hands-on previews describe a level of environmental storytelling that feels dense and oppressive, using the lo-fi tech of the 90s to ground the supernatural elements in something that feels uncomfortably real.
I'm here for the 90s tech aesthetic. Also, we got a surprise announcement from legend Ron Gilbert. Thimbleweed Park 2 is officially in production. It's aiming for a 2028 release with the original team returning. If you like pixel art murder mysteries and Mulder and Scully vibes, this is your win for the week. The first game was such a love letter to the LucasArts era of adventure gaming, and hearing that Gilbert is coming back to that world suggests we are going to get more of that signature dry wit and fourth wall breaking humor that we've been missing.
And we can't forget Owlcat Games. They've grown to 600 people. They're working on Warhammer 40,000 Dark Heresy, but they're also stepping out of their isometric comfort zone for the Expanse Osiris Reborn, which is going to be a Mass Effect-style third-person action RPG. They even hired a physics consultant to make sure the zero-G blood splatter looks scientifically accurate. It is a massive pivot for a studio known for deep text-heavy CRPGs, but with 600 developers, they clearly have the horsepower to attempt something this ambitious in the sci-fi space.
Science and gore, truly the two pillars of Nerfed. That's a lot to look forward to, even if we have to wait until 2027 or 2028 for most of it. The industry's in a strange state of flux right now, with these massive project timelines and corporate shakeups, but the actual games on the horizon look more creative than they have in years. I think we are finally seeing the post-pandemic development cycles bear fruit. But for now, we're wrapping it up.
Wait, did we mention Stalker 2? The Cost of Hope DLC drops August 20th. New zones, new story, and an Unreal Engine 5 update, just in case you needed more reasons to get lost in the zone. GSC Game World is continuing to support the game with incredible dedication, and this update is supposed to push the lighting and global illumination to a level we haven't seen in the series yet. The Cost of Hope title sounds ominous, but in the zone, hope is the most expensive commodity there is.
There is always a reason to get lost in the zone, Marcus. But that's our time for today. We have covered everything from executive paydays to the gritty future of tabletop gaming. It is a wild time to be a gamer, and we appreciate you spending part of your Friday with us to break it all down.
Neural Newscast is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. View our AI transparency policy at neuralnewscast.com. Check out Nerfed.ai for more.
I'm Vanessa Calderon.
And I'm Marcus Shaw. Thanks for listening to Nerfed.
This has been Nerfed on Neural Newscast, where games, culture, and strategy intersect.